Radio Raw here with Robert Garcia at Media Day. Let me ask you first of all, you're facing Triple G, Gennady Golovkin across the ring. This guy is on a roll, knocking guys out. Everybody feels like he's unstoppable. What do you see that makes you think he can be vulnerable Saturday night?
Look, that's exactly what you said. Lately, in his last 17 fights, he's knocked everybody out. He's a tremendous fighter. We got so much respect for him as a fighter and also as a person because he's a great person. But there's little things that I seen in the gym, in the videos. My dad helped. It's always part of our training camps, and my dad's very confident that there's those mistakes that he makes that we could take advantage of, and that's what we train for. The fight's not easy, and it's something that a lot of people think that it's almost impossible. But hey, there's always those surprises. There's been surprises throughout boxing, and if Rubio lands a good punch, he also has tremendous power. So you don't know what Triple G's reaction is going to be.
One of the biggest things about boxing, boxers always tell you this, it's a mental game as well. How do you make sure that Rubio doesn't go in there intimidated or feeling defeated from the first bell?
See, that's what most of Triple G's opponents, what I've seen, they go in there already with that fear. They're already intimidated by Triple G. My job, my assistants, everybody, our job is to try to not only prepare Rubio, but also give him a lot of confidence mentally. We've been doing that, and his manager feels very comfortable with the way I talk to him, the way I work the corner. So I think that's another motivation that should help him out. It's not only about the preparation, it's also mentally, the way we prepare him mentally, and I think we've done a great job. Hopefully during the fight, that gives us good results.
They are calling this Mexican style. That's the title of this fight. Do you think that that's the best strategy, though? I mean, the stereotypical Mexican style for Marco Rubio to face Triple G.
Look, the fight, the show is called Mexican style, and Triple G does bring that, bring that style, come forward, hard puncher, good body shots. That's exactly what Mexicans love to see, But, with my fighter, he's not only Mexican style, he also has Mexican blood running in him, something Triple G doesn't have, So hopefully that makes a little bit of a difference during the fight. But, we have to fight smart. We can't just go out there wild and thinking, let's please the crowd and let's fight the way the crowd wants us to see the fight. We got to be smart. We got to be a little bit smart because Triple G does have tremendous power.
And turning to the co-main event, I was just surprised to find out that Nonito Donaire wasn't training with you. You weren't going to be in his corner. Why is that, and where did you guys part company to make where he felt like he needed to go a different direction?
No, Nonito's training with his dad. His dad is his trainer since he was a kid. For a few years, when I was helping Nonito, was when they had a few differences. But I'm glad that he's back with his dad. His dad is a great trainer. He made him a world champion. The first time he won a title was with his dad. So I'm very happy. They're great people. I might still work the corner because I'm still going to wrap his hands and help him maybe in the corner. I'm still not 100% sure, but I'm glad his dad's back in training camp with Nonito. Nonito's a tremendous fighter, tremendous power, very skillful. So I think it's gonna be a great fight because Walters is a warrior. He's got dedication. He wants to beat that Nonito type of fighter to make it to the next level. So I can't wait for that fight.
You and Nonito had some of your best days together. His best fights in his career were with you. So even though you may not be the cornerman, I'm sure you intimately know this fighter and the matchup. So putting your analyst hat on for a moment, with a Walters who is such a heavy hitter and has something to prove, as does Donaire, what's Donaire's best strategy facing Nicholas Walters?
Look, Nonito has tremendous power with his left hook, and that's one punch that's always been effective. Sometimes it's even saved them, from some fights, and anything could happen in the fight. Walters is hungry. That's the main thing. He's hungry. He's in great shape. He's probably in the best shape of his life. So that's one thing Nonito has to be very aware of, especially if the fight goes to the later rounds. But I think Nonito has enough skills and enough experience to be able to handle that with no problem.
And lastly, Robert, I haven't been able to speak to you since after the Mayweather-Maidana fight. Obviously, you guys weren't happy with the outcome. How did you feel about Maidana's performance in the fight?
Look, I think Maidana did exactly what he was told to do during training. We knew the fight wasn't going to be easy. Of course, we're fighting Mayweather, the best in the world. But we also knew who the ref was, so we had to change a few things, and that's why a lot of people didn't see Maidana being the aggressor like he was the first time. Because Kenny Bennett would have never let us fight on the inside. As everybody's seen, there was a lot of breaks. Even though one hand was free, he would still break them up. We already knew that going into the fight, so we tried to do a little bit more of in and out counter, and I think he was effective. He landed a few good right hands that I was very, very happy with the performance. The results were not our way, but nobody's ever beat Mayweather, so we just got to be proud of what Maidana has done. From being a one-dimensional fighter who nobody ever thought would be in this position to fight to fight Mayweather twice and give him good fights. I think that's more than enough.
Did you feel like that referee selection was so that Mayweather could do exactly what he did and not allow Maidana to fight on the inside? Was that kind of like a setup?
Well, I'm not saying it was a setup because that's the commission decision, I think. But I do know that Mayweather since day one at the media tour started mentioning that Maidana is a dirty fighter, that Maidana is an MMA fighter. All that is pretty much already giving the attention to all the refs. Whoever at that time we didn't know who the ref was going to be, but that's pretty much preparing whoever the ref's going to be. Watch out because he's a dirty fighter, and as we've learned, from Mayweather in the past, he pretty much calls the shots. He calls the shots on everything. He overrules the decisions from the commission, with the gloves and all that. So he gets away with everything.
There was so much emotionally riding on this fight for Marcos Maidana. Afterwards, what was his mental state like? How did he feel? And then what do you feel is best? What's next for him now with this new notoriety?
Look, Marcos was very, very happy with his performance. He told me after the fight, I think the way I fought and the way I was actually counter punching, making him miss a few punches, he felt he fought better than the first time. Maybe the fight wasn't as close because the first time he was just smuggling Mayweather to the ropes and throwing a lot of punches. This time he felt more like a boxer, in and out, counter punching, thinking of his punches. Waiting for Mayweather to throw to try to make a miss, and I agree. I think his performance was better in the second fight than it was in the first. That we talk about skills and reflexes and stuff like that. But the fight didn't go away. But he's happy. I think he's resting up for the rest of the year. Hopefully by next year he'll get something big. There's a lot of big fights out there, especially if we're talking about a rematch with Broner, a rematch with Amir Khan. Hey, you never know. I would love him to fight Pacquiao. That's a fight that I would love. But that's between his managers and his promotional teams.
Robert, thank you for the time. It's been a great year for you. Good to talk to you. Radio Raheem with Robert Garcia.
Thank you.